Want to give thanks to all of my fellow friends and family, those of you that recently have subscribed to Yahira Lobos. I want to give thanks. Want to start with taking a breath in my sacred heart, bowing down into the sacred heart, putting my right hand over my heart, my left hand over my right hand on my heart. I bow down into my heart and I take the sacred breath, reminding me of this present moment. And now I ask Great Creator and all of my benefic guides, my higher self, Pachamama, to assist me in opening up my wheat locoche. That is my crown. And sending this golden light, that is my essence, through my breath with light, anchoring me into the earth, bringing in this golden light over my vessel and down, side, below, under, connected me from the heavens to my heart, to the earth. On behalf of North America, I am Yahira Lobos, and I am here to share messages with the people, by the people, because we are the people. I want to acknowledge all of my ancestors and my spirit guides and the Kachinas who walk with me here. This altar is with Grandmother Kachina, Buffalo Warrior. Behind Buffalo Warrior is Mother Brownface and Father Isis, Enforcer, Eagle Dancer, Morning Singers up top. Here is Morning Singer. We'll have him pretty much in the video. He's been wanting to be heard recently. When I wake to the rising sun, and the sun is the form of this fan to me. This symbolizes the sun, his headdress. But as we awaken to the rising sun, the Hopi believe that we give thanks to all that there is. And as I myself have been connected to Source and Mother Earth, I relate to Morning Singer and rising to the rising sun, giving thanks for all that there is and awakening through the passion and the love and our gratitude that is in our heart for all life that is sacred. We give thanks to the morning sun, the rising sun, Father Sun, for giving us life here on earth, for all things to grow. We are so grateful for Morning Singer coming to remind us that the first thing that we do in the mornings is to be reminded of the sacredness that we all are. As we take that sacred breath into the present moment and we look into the rising sun, we give thanks for the light that activates our body and gives us the ability to commune and grow with all life on earth. Aho and ahe. Giving thanks for Morning Singer sharing this really big message, and I might be able to get him to get in there. There we go. He's part of the whole tribe of, actually, the bird tribe. I want to give thanks to this beautiful week that we had a full moon in Libra Lahira Lobos is a Libra. I am a Libra. I am a New Earth visionary and oracle. I'm here to bring the messages that came through this week during the full moon. It was a flower moon, a pink moon. What a divine feminine energy that came through that full pink moon. I'm so grateful for the week that we are in. We just had Good Friday last night. Passover has started for all of our Jewish brothers and sisters, for all those that celebrate Yeshua, Yahweh, Jesus Christ. Tomorrow is Easter Sunday, and we celebrate the coming home of Jesus Christ, the resurrection, the rebirth. The resurrection is something that a lot of people have not known the truth about Jesus Christ and whether he sacrificed his life for all the people or was he murdered. Way before I started to channel as a conduit, as an adult, when I finally figured out who I really was, because I was born in 1971 and women like me were either raised in a family with grandmothers and mothers who taught them what they knew, or like me, I suffered greatly when my mother died when I was a child, but she also was separated from her own culture, and she's been given an opportunity herself to resurrect and come back into the truth of knowing who we are, right? We resurrect it in this lifetime. Many of us have died and come back. Near life death experiences is what I'm talking about. In those near life death experiences, I myself have been able to be informed way before I knew who I was as a channel that Jesus possibly did not really sign up to be sacrificed the way that people talk about him sacrificing himself for everybody. I never thought that that was true. From a child, when I went to Catholic school for 8 years, I never believed that. I could never believe that Jesus would sign up to have thorns like needles placed in his head, and he was nailed to the cross, hands and feet. And I believe that they had put holes in the side of him. In other words, all the whippings, all the thorns, all the nailing that was done to him brought on an incredible amount of suffering. People caused one man to suffer because he said he was the Son of God. And how dare any human being in the eyes of the Romans believe that any of us human beings could be possibly the Son of God, when in truth, reality, we are all the sons and daughters of God. And there is no one creator that sits on a throne that is either man or woman. And all of humanity needs to realize that we too are hosting a feminine or a masculine body, but that we carry both traits and we are androgynous. So, Creator, God, doesn't exist in a Bible or a book or a temple or a mosque or a church. God is the essence of life, source, creation of all that there is. God is in every flower, every weed, every blade of grass, every grain of salt, every grain of sand, every grain of dirt, every molecule of every human, every animal, every creature, every bird, every reptilian, every single aspect of life, the water, the fire, the earth, the air, all life has intelligence. We are conscious intelligence. our bodies, our temples are so much more than we have allowed ourselves to believe. There's nobody in this world that would sign up to get tortured and then murdered on behalf of such lies and ludicrousy. The people of the Romans that crucified Jesus Christ, all thought that he should be killed because he said he was the Son of God. In today's day, would you allow some man to get tortured, whipped, and nailed to a cross just because they said they were the Son of God? Would you allow that to happen? Ask yourselves, how many times in this lifetime did you watch other people abuse other people? And I really, really mean this question on a very minute level. Let's look at the macro and let's look at the micro. Yahira Lobos has her own divine story of my own life that I lived. I was born into a city named Suffern, New York, and I was born backwards with two ribs broken in 1971 of October 22nd. On Easter Sunday, for years before my mother died, I would get tremendously sick with the flu. And I would be so sick I couldn't do the Easter egg hunt with all of my relatives. And I remember being so excited that my Mexican Indian family was finally going to come from Staten Island and Jersey, and I was going to be able to see all of my cousins, which I never really got to see. This was, you see, the one holiday that my father would allow all of the Saldivar family to come over and to have a big dinner. And I would look forward every year to have that Easter egg hunt. And every year after year after year, until my mother died, I would have the flu. There are even family pictures that I'm not in because I was so sick. And the reason why I bring up this story is just to remind everybody that, Great Creator told me when I was young, when I was that little, before I knew I was a conduit or a channel, I was speaking with God since I was a child. And I knew I was talking to God, but I didn't call that anything. It was something very special. And I didn't really tell my parents what I was doing. Why? Because they weren't well enough to care about me in that tender way. They both suffered from alcoholism and mental illness. They suffered greatly, emotionally and mentally, and they didn't have what it took to be great parents. And they weren't taught to love me by their own parents. And they were brought up in very abusive households with a lot of neglect and poverty. And so they didn't really have that richness of love and light to give to me because they were broken and they were just surviving. But when I look back on the years that I used to ask God why I was sick every year for Easter, I was told that in the future I would know why. And when COVID hit, I realized that that was why I got sick every year, was to build my body up for now so that I don't die. So I guess when I was really young, I was really healthy. Great Creator wanted me to get really built up for what was coming in the future. When I was in my 40s, I traveled around the United States in 2012 from 20 till 2020. And I served as a volunteer for America, serving the people by the people because we the people. And I didn't really have a lot of self worth or self esteem. And God asked me to be the wind beneath the wings and to be a messenger and to share my oracle messages with anybody and everybody who would listen to me and to promote the people that had integrity and to put on these like beautiful transformational music and art festivals and to really get my voice out there and to be a volunteer because, as an addict, when I was a drug addict, I was also really wild and crazy and I had a lot of rage and there was a lot of things that I said to a lot of people and I hurt a lot of people's feelings and I had to take responsibility for all the times in this world that I may have hurt other people with things that I was consciously aware of and times that I hurt people being unconscious. just because I was ignorant doesn't mean I don't take responsibility for all of my energy that I put out there. So in 2012, when I became a volunteer, I traveled around the United States to make good of everything. And then in 2020, when COVID hit, I was taken out of being a volunteer and it looked like the whole world had social distancing. So I had an opportunity to actually get grounded after being a volunteer and moved around from place to place to place, listening to the voice of God and never really becoming anyone. I didn't get paid. I was a straight up volunteer. And I, found crystals everywhere I went, and God would have me gift crystals to other people and bring messages to the people by the people because we are the people. One of the biggest things that I collected when I was out there was selenite, angel wing selenite. Looks like a wing from sacred sites and sacred grounds. Mother Earth would give me gifts that look like feathers. This looks like a wing, but the light might not make you see it. It's kind of feathery. These are angel wing selenites from New Mexico, and I would gift out crystals to the people and give them messages. And that's how I was a really big volunteer. I didn't think I was a great person, and I suffered from CPTSD from childhood traumas and rapes and domestic abuse, being homeless, being ostracized 7 times in my life, having 6 pregnancies but no children, um, being estranged from my family, and never getting married, never having children was a really big one. Until 2013, Great Creator had me get married. I got grounded. I had an apartment in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And so between the traveling, I started to heal myself in the last 10 years with yoga and meditation and Qigong. When 2020 hit, though, Great Creator had shown me that the world was now going to learn how to also like Jesus Christ did. And that all that I from 2012 to 2020 was prophecy. And I was fulfilling prophecy, not any particular cultural prophecy, but that I had read this book, I believe, in the 1990s. And The Return of the Bird Tribe is a book about how there will be a coming of people from all walks of life, from every culture and religion. And Ken Carey, when he wrote this book, he decided to go into the woods and to go live off the grid. For 7 years, he lived off the grid, no television. All of the things that they did was grown and they lived off the land. And it was there that he received the knowledge for this book, and it came in a fiction book, so it's not told as if it's a real life story that happened. It has a historical perspective for what could be seeds that Ken Carey as an author planted for us in what was the year that he actually wrote this book is going to be the great thing. He wrote this book in 1988. I believe I read this in the 90s. And I highlighted it, and I've given out quite a few copies in my lifetime as I traveled around the United States as an oracle. One of my messages was to tell everybody to read this book because of the idea, the perspective, the seeds of the new earth that were planted in my heart when I read that book. And basically, what it was planting a seed for was that once you get off the grid and you disconnect from the machine, the man, the greed, the corporate world, the plastic, the fake, and once you get back to the indigenous roots of all of humanity, all of indigenous peoples, we are all connected to Mother Earth and we are all conscious beings. That is part of her consciousness. Mother Earth is a conscious being and she is in the Milky Way. We are part of the Milky Way. And there's life here that is on other planets. And most of us that have died in a near life death experience, like I have, Yahira Lobos, and what year was it? 1995, on the anniversary of my mother's death, who is Mexican Indian, from born in Houston, Texas. Her family is from Mexico. San Luis Potosi is where my roots are from. And it was, um, I lost the train of thought in which I was speaking. It was about what took place and why. I've read the book. So when I was traveling around the United States, Great Creator asked me to actually bring the message of the return of the bird tribe to the people. My mother, her lineage that's connected to me is what made me feel really connected to the Good Red Road, which is the Native Americans here in North America. Oh, we're all indigenous peoples. So no matter where we come from or what we look like, I was told we're all indigenous to this earth, Mother Gaia. Mother Earth is Pachamama. Mother Earth is Gaia. Mother Earth is the Sophia. Mother Earth is part of the cosmic being that is in the Milky Way, but that also governs a lot. We are hybrids. And on my mother's anniversary of her death, on May 31st of 1995, just 14 years after my mother died. I was 23 years old, and I was talking to my friend about death while I was reading books about Carlos Castaneda. I was asking Carlos Castaneda, the deeper meaning of life, and I went through a series of his 10 books from, you know, the all of the books that he wrote were about dreaming and the path of power and the separate reality. And it was about the Nagel shamanism. It was about, Don Juan, who was a shaman from the Yaqui Indians who lived here in the Sonoran Desert. And by the way, I live here now in Arizona. So it's like the information that came to me when I was a child really opened up my third eye. I did a lot of plant medicine as well. And what ended up happening was I was talking about death, about how Carlos Castaneda talked about we all choose our death. And when we're born, it's one of the most difficult things we could ever do is be born into a body. But after we are born into a body, we'll have a life. And one of the most second difficult things that we will have to be asked to do is to die a good death. And to be able to die a good death would be allowing you to ascend into your light body. And that's how I believe Jesus Christ was resurrected. And on that day, while I was speaking about death, my friend got cut off by a drunk driver and we hit a telephone pole. And I got cut out of my clothes in that car and woke up with blood and I got scalped, literally. My hair was like scalped. It looked like I got scalped. And I remember hair falling down, blood dripping all over me, the EMTs, getting me with their jaws of life. And I remember the first thing I said when I came to consciousness was, am I going to die? Please let me know. My body's in shock. And if I am going to die and if I'm not going to make it, I need to know right now because I'm a spiritual woman and I need to prepare for my death. It wasn't a freak out. It wasn't anything like that. And I just want you to know that ever since that day, I've never really been the same. Something came and anchored down into me, which was my higher self, Yahira Lobos. And from 1995 till 2012, I was a lost cause trying to find myself. And none of the healers or the remedies or the solutions that were out there were good enough. And I would be so enraged that I would freak out on every system and corrupt leader, making me look like I was crazy, therefore being diagnosed having CPTSD because I obviously have felt a lot of feelings and my rage has been expressed to the masses from my family that's been dysfunctional to the very counselors that tried to rape me, to the men that have raped me, to the very men that beat me, to the women that were narcissistic, that abused me, to the very systems that oppressed the people at jobs. I was fired by many for speaking up for the people, by the people, because we are the people. I am an indigo child that was born in 1971, and I don't effing play. Like, I got some old school gangsta up in here, you know? My father was Italian, and I'm a hot-headed. I got 4 planets in Scorpio, so if you really crossed me, I didn't think twice back in my heyday to really spit out the venom that you poisoned me with. And I would show every leader and every principal and every cop and every sheriff and every mental health counselor and every teacher that was corrupt. I would show them, I would bend them by the words of the truth that broke them, because I didn't allow people to do what they were doing. I wanted to end the fuckery. So when I saw people breaking sacred law or the law, I would speak up, and I was crazy for most of my life. But it wasn't until 2012 when I got sober and I became to be of service to humanity. Now, there were many people on the road when I traveled that were really happy that I was a volunteer, that I wasn't becoming anybody, that I wasn't trying to become anybody. And so when they had these festivals and they were booking people to speak and do workshops, they never came to me to ask me to be a voice. And I saw year after year after year that maybe I wasn't of any value, and maybe I didn't have a voice, and maybe I was crazy, because a lot of people would get triggered by me when I would confront the corruption in the spiritual communities, when I would confront what was going on at every single festival and workshop and leadership immersion that I went to. I could see the fake, I could see the dark, and I would really freak out that, like, we were supposed to have a safe place to commune and to come and to heal, and that there was like fuckery, corruption. People needed to take their colored glasses off and ask the bigger questions, because I didn't want to participate in a fake world. I didn't want to pretend that I was following this leader when I didn't believe in anything that he was saying, because I could see he wasn't walking his talk, or she wasn't walking her talk. I had bigger questions about, like, if these people are really like the ancient ones and the spiritual leaders that they say they are, how come when I go to their ceremonies, they don't really do anything but like spit out a couple of words and then kind of hide from the masses? What's up with this red carpet that we're rolling out for these people when they don't really hang out with the people, because maybe they're so special that we don't get to hang out with them? Like, there's like this hierarchy, and I started to question the hierarchy without even realizing I was questioning the hierarchy. I didn't even use that word. I didn't even know that word was existent. Not until I was in the spiritual community. So I have to say that in the spiritual community, I met a lot of people from a lot of walks of life, and many of them talk about uh, ascension into the light body. And a lot of people talked about Jesus Christ and becoming an emissary of light and serving the people by the people, because we are the people. And oh, it's a great idea to volunteer, especially those people that were making money, booking, their workshops and making money as a healer, as an oracle, as an astrologer, as a teacher, as a builder, as an innovator, as a speaker, all these different things. And there are so many of us that kind of got pushed under the rug and taken advantage of because we said we were volunteers. Well, I thought that all of the volunteers volunteered to volunteer here on earth together. And what I found out when I was traveling around the United States is that a lot of people were saying that they were here to birth the new earth, that they were part of the prophecies that are ready to be fulfilled, but yet they weren't the ones that wanted to do the work. They didn't want to show up and actually do the work. They wanted to be served in a hierarchy. They wanted to be paid. And oh, they were already so validated. They were validated, saying to the people that weren't validated that we were looking for validation when we were asking for people to show us that we had value to them. That means a reciprocal energy to be received for what we were given. So, as a volunteer, was I being respected as a volunteer? No, I wasn't. And that's where 2020 happened. And Great Creator was like, you see what we prepared you for your entire life. Now we're going to flip the whole script. You were born in suffering, reversed backwards, and you are a galactic hybrid indigenous being to this earth. Many people don't know who you are because you didn't come in with your DNA, born on a reservation, being handed the peace pipe from anybody else before me. I didn't live a life of purity. I wasn't I wasn't pure in my life. I was sexually abused as a child and more than once. By the time I was a teenager, I was cussing like a truck driver and doing drugs. Because in New York, there was nobody who really cared enough to stop that vicious cycle of abuse that was in my own family. It took 30 years until COVID happened, where I finally heard from my relatives that I exposed the abuse in the family. And I broke the chains that have been passed down from generation to generation by exploiting it. And now it can no longer go on in my family because I, Francine DeGiorgio, Yahira Lobos, brought it up in my family. And so we are breaking the chains of abuse and cycles of abuse that have been passed down from generation to generation. But in my family, I got ostracized just like Jesus Christ. And all throughout my life, anytime I brought up what was happening around the world, I got spoken to in this way. Why are you full of conflict? Why do you always asking questions? Why do you always think there's something wrong? Why don't you just trust in all of us? Why don't you trust me? The reason why I don't trust you and the reason why I won't put my trust in just anybody is because the world and the people in it have proved to me over and over and over and over and over and over, year after year, that they're broken, that they're traumatized, that they don't know how to stop their own cycle of abuse and ignorance, let alone to be able to stop the world's. And in 2020, when COVID hit, Great Creator was taking all of us out of this vicious game of looping back into the cyclic abuse patterns where half of the world was even brainwashed, not even knowing how abused they were. The whole world is going through their dark night of the soul right now because we're all awakening to the fact that we are not just our bodies, that we are so much more than that. Most of us remember that we're reincarnated beings. We have dreams, we have memories, we have visions. A lot of people are ascending by doing this breath work and yoga and meditation and eating properly and taking all the toxins and the pollutants that are in our body out of our body, because when we do that, we release the mucus from our organs, giving us the ability to be intuitive and to know the truth. In the last 3 years, COVID has given everybody who's into media an opportunity to use their voice and expose the lies and the corruption that have been happening all around the globe. I, Francine DeGiorgio, came out in 2012 because I was severely beaten by the New York City police officers when I was just a woman trying to break up a fight. There were 4 men who jumped up on my friend and was beating the living fuck out of him. I screamed to my friend, Amy, what's going on? And she turns around like a deer in headlights because my friend, just like me, suffers from abuse. But I'm an OG gangster. And this was 2012 after Yahira Lobos walked into me after my near life death experience in 1995. A walk in experience is having another entity or spirit host your body. My mission wasn't complete, so I didn't die in 1995. And I believe I had several near life death experiences. And every time you do, you expand consciously and you get that much stronger, because when you survive death, you tap into your superpower human abilities to activate a superhuman strength or ability or intelligence or genius. And so from 1995 to 2012, I had 7 near life death experiences. So in 2012, when my friend was getting beat in the street, I didn't skip a motherfucking beat. And I was ready to jump in there and stop the fight. And so I just pulled the guy back. And as I did, this guy just lunged at me. And because I was literally being certified as a peer advocate for the mentally ill from the Empowerment Center in Mount Vernon, New York already. I was in the middle of being certified. I literally got approached by this man who lunged at me, and I said, "Yo, yo, yo, what the fuck is up? Who are you? Are you an undercover cop? Are you a fucking 50? Yo, 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 what's up?" And I tried to evade this guy. This guy went after me with his other friends. They eventually got my ponytail, wrapped it around their hands, said, "You want to know who the fuck we are, bitch?" And takes my head and smashes it into the asphalt. When my nose hit the concrete, I heard the plates just click. I heard the bones click. And in that moment that I heard the bones click, I had Archangel Michael come down from heaven and ask me to choose a side. And in a moment of knowing, I screamed, "I choose the light," in front of hundreds of people on 4th and 5th Avenue in New York City, right coming out of a New York City death metal show, hardcore show, DRI, Dirty Rotten Imbeciles, with another band called Undivided. Now, think about that. It was December 8th, and that was my spiritual Mayan birthday in 2012. I had no business going to a death metal show, hanging out with my old school friends that were drinking and drugging. I had no business doing the things that I was doing in 2012. I was sober for 15 years, and I had fallen 1 year prior when I saw my dad fall into his death. He was dying in an old age home, and I couldn't handle it. And so I fell. And so after 15 years of being sober, hi, baby. Hi, baby. I ended up deciding to do drugs again, and I ended up in a really bad situation in New York City that night on December 8th of 2012. I had that wake-up call that would ask me to choose a side, and when I chose the light, what Great Creator was telling me is that in the future, you don't know the future, you know the now. I mean, my spirit guides were pissed at me. And I was told that I needed to go forward and to make all that I had done right, and to be a voice for the people, by the people, because we are the people, and to end human suffering, and to bring my wisdom to anybody who would listen. What I didn't realize is that as I was traveling, I was getting bypassed spiritually and gaslit, and where I could have been hired and paid and valued and respected for all that I shared with everybody. Many people projected their own shadow in me because I took on mental illness in 2013 when I got diagnosed with PTSD. And I got on stage in front of NAMI in Santa Fe, New Mexico at the Lensic Theater to share my life story as a monologue on how my life was affected my whole life without knowing that I was diagnosed, but being called crazy my whole life. How did I live my life up until that moment? I got to share the vulnerable story of Francine DeGiorgio, how I was literally born into this world broken, in suffering, my mother dying at the age of 9, being sexually abused, raped, and then using drugs and alcohol and making a lot of poor decisions where I didn't love myself, where I hated myself, and I caused a lot of harm to myself, to my family, and to any situation that brought me to my knees. I brought the fucking chaos on. So my rage, my anger, my words was powerful when I was a monster on the streets. And I was only a monster because I wasn't loved, I wasn't embraced, and I was highly abused, full of trauma. And can you imagine? I didn't even have my mother. The only woman who would love any child was rejecting, was gone. She wasn't existing. And I had no other choice but to believe in God. But for my whole life, I didn't have the system. I didn't have anything and everything that I needed. I needed a lot more than this world had for me to actually clear my trauma. The number one thing that I needed was, we needed really safe places for us to go and to heal thyself mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. The fucking world, I found out after I came out being diagnosed with PTSD, was that the world is crazy. As I traveled around the United States, I found out that everybody, after 8 years, it took 8 years for me to figure out that the spiritual community was full of shit, that they were projecting their fucking bullshit into me nonstop. And it was getting transferred to me from city to city and state to state, ceremony to ceremony. And there was no justice, not for me, because nobody at the end of the day really appreciated what I had to give. And I didn't love myself enough to stop giving myself away to any Tom, Dick, and motherfucking Harry. Shit, I was going to any motherfucker that would be motherfucking hearing me, seeing me, knowing me, being me, because I thought I had to save the fucking world. That was a savior, godlike complex that I got caught up in. By who? There were some people I met on the road that all believed the same bullshit that I believed. And based on this book that I read, Return of the Bird Tribes, there was a time that we are all manifesting together collectively in the dream space, that we do come together. I'm about to birth the talking circles tomorrow. And I realized by having conversations with my really good friends in the spiritual community for the last 5, 8 years that some of these people don't even know who I am. With no offense taken and none of it taken personally, in the last couple of months, I had to let go of some people that I really, really cared about. What they thought about me and how they treated me and how they interacted with me, with how they were trying to collaborate with me wasn't working. It was a vicious loop of fuckery. And I had to get off the goddamn hamster wheel. I have all these people in the spiritual community begging me to do stuff for them and with them, but I just know I don't want to go out there, because when I did go out there from 2012 to 2020, I got my fucking ass kicked. So here's a message for the world. Everybody thinks that we can actually heal ourselves as we're healing with other people, and that is true to an extent. And so I just want to give the notion here at 41 minutes that we are the only ones that can take our healing into our own hands. And that source energy is God. And that great creator, no matter what religion anybody is out there practicing, religion isn't the be all end all. It's a book that was written by man, by man. And all of the books are corrupt. So why wouldn't the religious books have massive corruption in them? Think about that. Don't get mad at me. Don't shoot the messenger, because this messenger, she doesn't listen to people yelling at her anymore. I took enough abuse on for 50 years. Last year, I had a big, huge lift of fuckery, which God told me that when I turned 50 years old, since I was a teenager, that once I turn 50 years old, I'll never have to look back. They're going to have me go as far into human suffering as I possibly can. And at the very last moment, they were going to snap my ass out of hell. I do not live in hell anymore. It feels like it's purgatory, and it feels like I'm reaching for heaven with a collective of group of people that I know that are not corrupt. We're all doing the best that we can, and we're transparent, and we are held accountable. And there are many in the spiritual community that are not. They just want to pretend that they are some Buddha godlike messiah based on how pretty they are or how sweet they motherfucking talk. Bullshit on motherfucking you guys are not getting away with the fuckery and the masks that you wear. Do I forgive you? Look, I don't take you personally. Who you decided to become when you were born is on you, boo. And I wouldn't dare take away your power by thinking that any of who you are has anything to fucking do with me, huh? You know what I'm fucking saying? Let's wake the fuck up, because I am. To any of the people that are ignorant, that do not know how they're behaving and how they're acting when they project their negativity onto me, I see you. I see where you're at. And I'm not out there to argue with you. I leave most people alone because it's not mine. But if I'm involved in relationships where I consider you to be a friend in my spiritual community, and I can see that you can't support me or promote me, or you're really for me, or you can even really handle my energy, I know this by now. I'm absolutely 100% aware of who's for me and who's not. Aren't we all? Aren't you aware of the people that are in your life that actually don't really want to be sitting next to you? You can feel that, right? The people that say, "Oh, I love you." "Oh, I love you." What the fuck do you love about me? You don't even know me, boo. I hate the superficial "I love you." When I tell people I love you, it's because I do love all of humanity. Until you show me there's a reason not to love you, boo, I'll love you deep. What I wanted to say was that the talking circles that we're about to kick off are really here for us to diffuse some of the belief systems and perspectives that are different, but really unique. And how can we all come together to vote for a better world if we can't like learn to come together? What I've been finding out in the last 3 years since Great Creator moved me out to Arizona, making me leave New Mexico where I lived for 20 years. I eventually left New York and I got sober and I never went back to New York. And I've been living in New Mexico for 20 years. I left there 3 years ago. And I have to tell you, 4 years ago, it's been very uncomfortable, but the best thing that God could have ever done for me. So, spending a lot of time alone, to anybody out there who's listening to me, it could be a really healthy thing because I was enmeshed in a spirit. You are enmeshed in other people's perspectives, other groups, temples, projects, people. You get into everybody's following one person's really loud perspective, somewhat of a false leader. All these people that join in groups and think that they're all part of a group and that everybody loves each other could be living underneath the biggest lie where nobody's actually confronting who they are to each other. And so that's a really big question. The other thing is that I really don't believe that any one person or culture or religion here on earth has suffered more than any one other. I believe we all have suffered from atrocity and genocide and poverty. There's been a certain 1%, guys, 1% that has been on top of this whole game of earth for millions of years. And that is based on the families like the Rockefellers. That 1% is the dark cabal. The dark cabal is the Luciferian matrix. All of that is a plan to take control over this world in a greedy, controlling way. That's the patriarchal paradigm that we're all a part of, that we are dissolving down to the fucking ground. Every system that has been corrupt, economic, political, environmental, government, agriculture, every system is coming down. The media has shown us how the world has been lying and we were all programmed and brainwashed. And in the future, I want you to know that we all are going to receive a payback for everything that we sacrificed. I believe that's coming for the 144. And I believe that we are going to clean up this planet because we are going to make medical free. We're going to implement social emotional education as mainstream education. You heard it from me first in 2007 when I stood up in front of El Caminos College in Torrance, California with my creative writing course. I had a vision of what we were going to do in 10 years, and they had me stand up and tell this vision to the world because I had standing ovations a few times in my life for getting up and delivering a speech that came just like Ken Carey's speech. We plant seeds in people. We are the quantum healers. We are the ones that shift and lift. We're the ones that are accountable. We're the ones that are saying, hey, the people of the planet, nobody owns the land. We've all been raped. We've all been abused. We all been enslaved. When are we, as Native Americans and African Americans and as women and as Asians and as Mexican American, as Hispanic American, as Jewish American, when are we going to be able to put the gauntlet of yesteryear's fucking wars down and stop this vicious loop of blaming everybody for all the bullshit? What I believe that humanity needs to do is take responsibility for themselves right now, their thoughts and their energy, and heal thyself. Find a program that works for you. There is no be all end all series of healing right now. And quantumly, we're all going through the eye of the needle. No stone gets unturned. We're all going to have to realize that we all came here to volunteer to end human suffering, to birth the new earth. That means we all need to heal. That's the bottom fucking line. And that we can point out who was wrong as president and who has caused harm. But for everybody who has caused harm upon another, when they cause harm upon another, it's a wake up to live in a better life. Sometimes you take what you have to heal from, like if you were raped, and then you might become the person that actually inspires other rapists to stop raping and others that were raped to live a better life and heal that being raped. So in other words, like there's a duality of the good and the evil. For all the evil that has taken place on the planet, it serves us in a good way when we decide to help the world heal. Because every time we get abused, every time we get hurt, we have to heal that. And the people that cause the harm, we get to call them out if we want to. We get to confront that. We get to literally ask the right question and discern. And then we get to choose, do we want to interact with that? If that isn't compliant, cooperating, interacting, being conscious, communicating in a nonviolent way, understanding and overstanding how we can actually interconnect in a harmonious, beautiful way that brings in love and light for all, then what are we doing? So I believe that for Easter Sunday, I'm delivering this 1 hour conversation to actually plant the seed for all of humanity to know that we're going to have to put down the excuses and the words and the name calling that we use when talking about other cultures and religions. And I think we need to take responsibility for ourselves right now. And I think that we become the solution for other people, and that we don't project outside of us anymore about who did what. I mean, I can talk all day long about who did what to me, but today I literally forgave all the people that raped me. So I can speak this right now. I can stand here and say, I've called up my rapist and I've asked them if they could forgive me, let alone say I forgive them. For all of the years that I thought that I was a victim of them, I forgot that I volunteered to come here to earth to discover why I came here to earth. God showed me that it was based on human suffering at a really young age. I'm a channel. And so every year, God would show me something horrible about this world, and I would endure it. And every time I would suffer a different pain and suffering, like the first time I got raped, just for an example, and I mean raped as a teenager, not from family members. The first time I was like date raped, I remember waking up out of that and saying, wow. The first thing I said was, wow. Now I know what it feels like to be raped, to be a woman. And the first time a man ever took my head and slammed it up against a wall and I blacked out and saw a blue light, blue light, blue light, I thought to myself, wow. Now I know what it feels like to be a domestically abused woman. And the first time I ever got beat down to the fucking ground by cops because I was drunk in New Mexico with Indians. I got beat like a fucking pulp. I got pictures of me bruised from head to toe. You'll vomit looking at how bad I was beaten. I told that motherfucking cop, try to fucking persecute me, motherfucker, I'll have your balls. I'm a fucking bruja, I told him way back in the day, way before I knew how powerful I was. I told him I was a bruja. A bruja was a witch, and you don't want to fuck with the bruja because she'll fuck your shit up. Back in the day, I think I played with power and words, and I did hurt people, which is why I volunteered for 10 years, if you get what I'm saying. Back in those days, that cop never pressed charges against me. All charges were dropped. I had a cop beat the fuck out of me for just being drunk. And I'll never forget that their plan was to put women like me and men that were really conscious and awoke away for life. So I've been against the culprit of the systems that were ran by the Rockefeller. That was the rehab that I went to when I was a teenager. And so many people that are part of the conspiracy theories and the truth tellers, they'll tell you out there that we've all been sought after, fucked with, not loved, not embraced. This world has been wild. I'm surprised that we're still alive. In 2020, Great Creator told me I would not go live as much anymore, that it was time for the whole world to feel like what it was like for me for my 50 years of being a truth teller. So right now, I kind of let go for the last 3 years in delivering. Half the times I go live on Facebook, I don't even save it. My words are so powerful, I don't keep them there to linger for other people to get downloads where they don't respect the value I give them. I just don't give that time of day anymore. We're at 54 minutes. I was going to do a 1 hour. I feel complete here with letting everybody know that resurrection and rebirth is possible for all of us. We are on the hero's journey to heal the wounded child within. Happy Easter to all of you. Sunday is a day that Jesus Christ taught me to resurrect into my light body. I do believe that I'm part of the ascension here, and I'm part of the light workers that are to remember who we are. I do oracle readings for a living now, and I am coming out of being a volunteer. I'm open to receive the true worth that I am. And with that being said, I also want to be a new earth visionary that's not greedy and asking for an excruciating amount of money from people to heal, especially during the time that most of the world doesn't have as much money. So I'm doing a sliding scale from $70 to 144. If you pay the full 144, I will give you an hour and a half. That's a gift. And I will give you an hour and a half where we could do a Zoom. I have now a Zoom account, and you can go to my page on Francine DiGiorgio. That's spelled FrancineDiGiorgio and www.yahiralobos.com. YahiraLobos.com is my website. $70 to 144 for an hour to an hour and a half. I am the founder of Crystal Nations Collective, and I have a bunch of crystals and a series of oracle readings that I'm going to serve. There's a website that I'm going to be actually on as a psychic, as an oracle, and I am getting my name out there in my local Payson community. And I just got certified through seladvancements.org. Heidi Little certified me in social emotional education. I can now teach all of the activations, meditations, and visualizations to teach self-love, how to resolve problems, how to communicate, how to build self-esteem, and emotions, how to be able to articulate them, express them, and how to take care of oneself mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. I have activations and prayers that will give children the ability to grow up in a much better way, knowing thyself, protecting thy energy field. And I'm so grateful for being an oracle for 30 years. I have over 30 oracle decks. I'm going to pull a card from Cheryl Yambrock Rose. This is through the Starstream Oracle. I want to ask Great Creator of all that there is to take a deep breath in, connecting with all those that are here now and all those that will come in the future. We give thanks to Great Creator. And a couple of cards just popped out. And I'm going to ask Great Creator to just bring in all of our guides from the north, east, west, south, above, below, within. We give thanks for all of our benefit guides to all those who are here now and who will come in the future. What are the messages? So the first message that came flying out is to break the negative cycle. So the reason why I came on as an oracle to tell you a little bit about my life story wasn't to be in vain or to be all about me. It was to let you all know that we are all here to break the vicious cycle that is in our life, in our families, in our communities. We are the voice. We are the ones that are being asked to speak up and to ask the right question for the purpose of raising consciousness and awareness around everything that we are witnessing. So if you see somebody doing something that is hurtful, hurting somebody else, you want to ask them, what are you doing? Do not assume what other people are doing. Do not be angry when you ask them the right question. Make sure you do some mirror work and shadow work, sage yourself, get into your heart, take a deep breath. And here is the message. Enough is enough. Have the courage to break free and create a new paradigm in your life. Leave the invalidators and the abusive situations behind. No more sacrifices. In County Down, Northern Ireland, there is a large mound on the grounds of Narrowwater Castle near Carlingford, Lug. It is called the Mound of the White Horse. In very ancient days, it is said that the area was visited by Egyptians, Africans, Phoenicians, and Vikings. When I first went there, I had a conscious vision of a white horse all over the landscape. I did not know of the mound or of its name. Later, I learned that white horses were sacrificed to the sun god on a cromlech atop the Neolithic mound. Their spirits were still there, galloping forever through the green pastures, and in the painting, the white horses destroying the place of this barbaric rite of sacrifice, scattering the stones so the cycle is never repeated. Giving thanks to Yeshua for all that he is, because he did not wish to be sacrificed, he was. But in the memory of it all, his last words and intention was to ascend and to bring back the light for the people to remember that when you walk this path selflessly for the people, by the people, because we are the people, and you come from thy sacred heart and you do thy best to heal and ascend mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, all miracles are possible. We are possible. And I want to ask every culture and every religion to let go of all of the shame, blame, and guilt that we can push upon and project onto another. And let's just heal thyself, because as we heal ourselves, the solutions will come from the people that are healed already. That's when we can collaborate. That's when we could do talking circles. That's when the seeds of the new earth birth. Give thanks to great creator. At the last, we will be dancing our troubles away. For all of us who feel like me, I am very upset. This morning, I received a phone call at 8 o'clock this morning from a sister I've been estranged from, which is giving me the reason for this actual video. It's to resurrect myself. I'm so sick and tired of all the projections and the judgments and the blame and the guilt that I get for all the things that I could have, would have, should have done that I wasn't. And I am worthy. I am lovable. I do matter. And everything that happened in the past is in the past. There's nothing I can do about it. I have paid my dues. I've been on my fucking knees, literally, and I have served the people, by the people, because we are the people. I refuse. I absolutely refuse to take on any more dysfunction from any other human being ever again. I resurrect. And I ask all of you to come. Come on. Let's resurrect. We got nothing better to do than to leave all of our troubles behind. We deserve it. We are the light. Remember why you came here. And if any of you suffer like I do with my family, just know I love my family and I pray for my family. And I'm so sorry that I react to my family when they cross the boundaries and they spew venom on me. I am human. Furthermore, I was highly abused and I'm not made out of stone. I have the biggest heart ever. And if I have to make these videos to show people how vulnerable I am and who I really am, so that I don't get attacked anymore, so that the truth can get out, so that the other people like me could be born, well, then this is my best that I have today. And that I love my sister. And I pray to God that she heals and that we all heal, because we all deserve it. And if we heal, we can resurrect and we can choose our next life. We are co creators, we are conscious beings. We become sovereign when we don't give our power and our authority to any other. Aho and ahe. Wait. Oh, my sister called me today.